Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Welcome to the episode, and I just enjoy being able to talk with you guys every week because let's be real, missing someone who wasn't good for you can feel like the dumbest thing in the world until it's you, right? I think we judge people a lot of times when they're in those relationships. And understand, I get it, because you know what they did, you know their relationship was toxic, you know you deserve better, and yet a lot of times your chest still aches when you hear that song. Right? Your brain keeps replaying those good moments like some kind of emotional torture device, and then you get mad at yourself for even having those moments, and you start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Why do I miss them? Didn't I learn anything? And listen, if you're sitting there feeling called out right now, just know you're in the safest space. I'm Samantha Saunders, a licensed professional counselor, and this is Beyond You podcast. And today we're having this conversation about why your heart sometimes just misses what your mind knows what's wrong for you, and why this actually more normal than you think, so you don't feel like something's wrong when it comes to missing someone that was like that, but also know that we can be able to understand it so you don't feel like something you have to keep going back to the same loop, right? And I know I had clients who had these moments. I even had moments that just have happened to me, because I think a lot of times in these stories that I mentioned, you could be able to hear yourself in these stories, right? And so I was having one of those days before, and I know other clients have this too. The kind where you're feeling proud of your growth, grateful for your peace, maybe in a little smug, right, about how far you've come in your healing journey. And I've had those moments where scrolling through Instagram, just mind my business, and when his story popped up, right, there he was, my ex from years ago, the one who had me walking on eggshells for months, the one who would disappear without explanation and show up like nothing happened, the one who made me sometimes question my own reality because his words never matched his actions. But in this photo, he was laughing at something, and for a split second all I could remember was how that laugh used to make me feel safe, right? How his hand felt. Like I was having these memories of just all the experience that I've had, right? And also in how chosen I felt during those moments, that just really came to mind. And before I knew it, I was in my car in some random parking lot throwing through kind of old photos. Like, these patterns tend to happen when you just kind of see it, and it reminds you of just what happened in the past. But a lot of times what happens is that our minds want to protect us from not going into the trauma constantly. So we go into just the happy moments, right? But we don't really think about the times there's sleepless nights, or the times where you felt that this person was just hurting you. And a lot of times I felt, when that happened, I felt just embarrassed. Like, even there's times where I'm someone that helps women get into these toxic relationships overall, those narcissistic ones, and get into healthy nourishing spaces. And I've done the group therapy and the growth setting and boundary, and I help people do the same to get out of this. And but understand that when you were in a relationship that felt like a roller coaster, this happens. There's nothing wrong with you because this happens. This didn't mean that I wanted him back. It didn't mean I was foolish or weak or moving backwards. It just meant I was human, and it meant I had loved with my whole heart, right? And I want to see the benefit of that when it comes to that. And even when that heart was being mishandled. And honestly, there's some kind of beautiful about that. The fact that I was able to show up and show in love, and if the person chose to mishandle it, that is on them. But I want to be able to break it down on why you're not crazy, because let's talk about why this happened, okay? Because understanding the why is the first step to not feeling like you're losing your mind. When we miss someone who's toxic, you're often not actually missing them. We're missing something else entirely. And our brains, which I'm grateful for, are really good at playing tricks on us to protect us from pain. Okay, and this is why we just kind of think about it. We miss the feeling, not the person. You're not missing the person who left you unread for 3 days. You're missing the feeling of being chosen when they finally did respond. And you're not missing the person who criticized everything you did. You're missing the feeling of being needed, even if that need was based on you losing yourself. So I know people would think about it's a person, but it's a feeling that they gave. It's that roller coaster, going on that high, right? We miss the potential, not the reality of the person. Your heart fell in love with who they could become, not who they actually were. So when you miss them, you're grieving the relationship that lived in your imagination more than the one that existed in real life. And this was really hard to accept when I was just taking heed and learning this. Is because in those moments you feel like you really did miss that person. I mean, sometimes we miss a version of ourselves with them. Maybe it was adventurous. Maybe you were trying to impress them. Maybe you felt more alive because you were constantly on edge. You might not be missing them. You might be missing those parts of yourself. So here's something that might blow your mind with all this, though. Our brains are literally designed to remember good experiences more vividly than bad ones over time. It's called like that rosy retrospection, okay? And it's why that ex had you crying every other week suddenly seems like the one that got away months later. Your mind starts editing the relationship like a movie trailer. All the best scenes, none of the painful parts. You remember how they looked at you when they said they loved you, but you forget how empty those words felt when their actions told a different story. And so know that you're just not alone in that, because I know how hard it can be. And here's something I see, especially in just my women of color. Many of us grew up in environments where love came with conditions, right? Where you had to earn affection, or emotional availability was rare. So toxic relationships can actually feel like what love is supposed to feel like. The struggle, the uncertainty, the constant effort to be worthy, that can feel more real than just someone who just loves you without all the drama. And for those of us who were taught to be understanding, to make excuses for people's behavior, to be patient with people's healing journey, there can be this guilt without walking away. There could be this guilt about walking away, right? Because like maybe we weren't supportive enough, maybe patient enough, loving enough. We'll start to think these things. But I want you to be able to understand compassion doesn't require you to sacrifice your peace. Okay? Understanding someone's pain doesn't mean you have to accept their harmful behavior. And missing someone doesn't mean you made the wrong choice by protecting yourself. And so I think when we take heed in that and just understand that this is not something that is just easy, I just want to kind of break this down so you can realize what is going on within you. And a lot of times we don't realize the stories that we create when we're missing someone who was bad for us, because these stories feel so real in the moment. Maybe you're saying things like, maybe I was too harsh. Maybe they were really trying. Maybe I gave up too easily. Maybe I'm just too picky. Maybe they've changed by now. Maybe I'll never find anyone who made me feel that alive again. Like, we'll say all these things constantly to ourselves to get us back in this loop they had us in. Because I understand that I hear these stories every single day. And I want you to know these aren't truths. These are your heart trying to make sense of the confusion between missing someone and knowing they weren't good for you. And your heart is like that really well-meaning friend who wants to protect you from the pain of accepting that someone you loved couldn't love you the way you deserved. So it creates these alternative explanations to make missing feel justified, right? But here's what I've learned. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time, like Maya Angelou says, not the 10th time, not after you've given them every opportunity to change, not after you've made every excuse for their behavior. You have to believe them. That person you're missing, they had every opportunity to choose you, to show up for you, to treat you with the love and respect you deserved. And they chose not to. Not because you weren't worth it, right? So much you want to take, not because you weren't worth it, because they weren't capable of giving what real love requires. And I had a client tell me, but what if they really have changed? What if I walked away right before their breakthrough, right? We say these things to try to make sense of it all. And I said, listen, your job isn't to wait around for someone's potential to become reality. That is not your job. Your job is to love people as they are, not as who they might become. And if who they are consistently hurts you, then loving them means loving them from a safe distance. The story your heart is telling you about, the what if, is designed to keep you stuck in hope instead of moving forward in reality. Hope for someone else's transformation isn't a relationship strategy. Hope is not a relationship strategy. It's a form of self-abandonment when you're doing the same thing over and over and nothing has changed. And so understand the mindset shifts that changed everything, right? Because I want you to be able to have these mindset shifts all right here. So here's where we get to the heart of the healing, right? I'm about to share with you the mindset shifts that changed everything for me and for so many women I've worked with, and men too, right? Shift number 1, from I miss them to I miss the feeling. When that wave of longing hits, get curious. What exactly are you missing? Are you missing him? Or are you missing feeling desired? Are you missing her? Or are you missing feeling needed? Are you missing them? Or are you missing the excitement of new love before reality set in? When you can identify the feeling underneath the missing, you can start finding healthier ways to create that feeling in your life. Okay? Shift number 2, from maybe I was wrong to maybe to my experience was valid. Stop second guessing your peace. Stop wondering if you were too sensitive, too demanding, too much. Your experience of that relationship was real. Your feelings are valid. Your experience is valid. Your decision to choose yourself was wise. Okay? Shift number 3, from what if they've changed to look how much I've changed. Instead of wondering if they're different now, celebrate how different you are. You're stronger, you have better boundaries, you know more clearly that you will and what you won't accept. That growth is worth protecting. If you have someone that needs to hear this, please make sure to share and follow. Shift number 4, I'll never find this again, or 2, I'll never accept this again. The intensity felt in that toxic relationship, you're right. You probably won't find that exact thing again. And that's beautiful, because that intensity was often your nervous system in crisis mode, not your heart in love mode. Shift number 5, from I'm not healed if I still miss them to missing them shows my capacity for love. And this was the one that really got me, right? Because healing doesn't mean you stop having feelings about people who were important to you. It means you can feel those feelings without being controlled by them. And understand the shift that kind of changed everything was, instead of asking, why do I miss them? Start asking, what is this missing trying to teach me about what I need? Maybe it's teaching you that you need more excitement in your life. But you can create that through new experiences, not toxic relationships. Maybe it's teaching you that you need to feel chosen, but you can choose yourself first and find people who celebrate that choice. Maybe it's teaching you that you need more passion, but you can channel that into your just purpose your creativity, your growth, whatever just fills you up. When I stopped trying to get my needs met by someone who had already shown me they couldn't meet them, right? And start finding healthy ways to meet them myself. The missing transformed from painful longing into useful information about how to create a more fulfilling life. Like, you can be able to find out what exactly you need to be able to create that for you. So a lot of times you don't realize when missing starts to become just dangerous. Now, I need to have an honest conversation about when missing someone crosses a line from normal human emotion to something that might be keeping you stuck. Because missing becomes dangerous when it starts driving your decisions. When you find yourself checking their social media every day, driving by places you might see them, or making life choices based on the possibility of running into them, missing becomes dangerous when it's preventing you from moving forward. When you're turning down dates because no one compares to them, when you're not investing in new friendships because you're still emotionally tied to someone who's not in your life anymore. Missing becomes dangerous when it's making you question your own reality. When you start thinking, maybe it wasn't that bad, when you know it was. When you start minimizing their harmful behavior or romanticizing their good qualities. And missing becomes dangerous when it's pulling you back into toxic patterns, when you're willing to accept breadcrumbs of attention from them, when you're considering reaching out just to see how they're doing. Please don't do that. I want to be clear. Feeling the missing isn't dangerous. Missing someone who was bad for you is a normal part of healing. But when missing turns into obsessing, when longing turns into pursuing, when nostalgia starts controlling your choices, that's when we need to get honest about what's happening. If you're in that space right now, please know that it's okay to ask for help, whether that's calling a friend who can remind you of your worth, talking to a therapist, or just acknowledging that you need support to get through this wave, and that is okay. Plenty of times I use support of my friends. Your feelings are valid, and you also deserve to feel peace. You deserve to miss someone without it taking over your life. And so now we're just going to get to that practical tools for the missing moments, because I know that it gets real and it can feel overwhelming during that time. So let's get practical, because I know some of you are in those missing moments right now and you need something concrete to help you get through the reality check practice. When the missing hits, name the truth out loud. Say, I miss them, but I also remember why I left. Don't try to talk yourself out of the feeling, but don't let the feeling exist without context either. And I like to tell individuals, like, when you miss them, and then what? Like, keep writing on what you actually miss, right? The to list exercise is another one. Grab a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle on one side, write what you miss about them. On the other side, write about what you definitely don't miss. And be specific. Be honest. Let that second list remind you why your piece was worth protecting. A lot of times when I would have breakups beforehand, I would write down just like the pros and cons list, so I just don't forget, because I know how the mind works, and I want you to do this too, right? Because I want you to read entry somewhere else. So a lot of times we can be able to go for a walk. When that energy starts to come, you got to do something. Like, the energy has to be released in some way, because moving your body will shift your energy. And then we have the future self check-in. When you're tempted to reach out, imagine yourself 6 months from now. What would that version of you want you to do right now? Would she want you to reopen a door you worked so hard to close? Then the gratitude flip. This might sound strange, but try thanking them in your mind. I know, hear me out. Not to their face, okay? For showing you what you don't want in love. Thank them for helping you discover your non-negotiables. Gratitude can transform that pain into feel like a wisdom. Like, I'm thankful that I'm someone that is mean and just would wake up, you never knew exactly what to expect. But understand, give yourself permission to mix them. for exactly 5 minutes. Sometimes it's setting a timer. Feel all the feelings. Remember the good times. Let your heart have its moment. Then when the timer goes off, do something that reminds you of who you are now, not who you were with them. So, personal reflection, right? When things started to change, I want to share just a vulnerability moment. I realized I'd stopped missing someone who had been taking up space in my heart for way too long. And it was a while ago after we ended things, and I was at this coffee shop where we used to meet sometimes. And I ordered my usual and sat down, and I realized I hadn't thought about him in weeks, right? And this was a while ago. In weeks, not in that forced, I'm not going to think about him way, but in that genuine, my mind has been occupied with my actual life kind of way. And I sat there in our just kind of old spot, and instead of feeling that familiar pang of missing him, I felt grateful. Grateful for that table, grateful for the journey, grateful for how far I'd come. When I've done this work for myself, I realized that sometimes I wasn't actually missing them. I was missing a feeling of connection, excitement, and that being chosen. And when I started giving those feelings to myself, the missing started to fade. I had become more interesting to myself than he had ever been to me. I had filled my life with people who showed up consistently, with work that excited me, with the dreams that didn't require anyone else's permission. And that's when I understood that healing isn't about never having feelings about people who are important to you. Healing is about those feelings not having power over your choices. Healing is about missing someone and still choosing yourself. And here's what's beautiful. When you reach that place, you realize your capacity to love wasn't wasted on them. It was practiced for loving someone who can actually receive it properly. Okay? So understand that you're human, right? We're going to be missing these people. So if you're in this space right now where you're missing someone who wasn't good for you, I want you to know nothing is wrong. Doesn't mean that you have to go back to them, right? Just because I miss donuts doesn't mean I have to go eat them, right? You're not foolish. You're not going backwards. You're grieving what you hope that person could be. And that's one of the most human things that you can do. So give yourself grace, right? For the missing, feel it without judgment, honor it without feeling like you have to act on it. Let it remind you of your capacity for love without letting it convince you to accept less than what you deserve. So remember, you can miss someone and still know they're not good, right? They're just not good for you. And you can honor the real feelings of loneliness without reopening a door you've worked hard to close. So understand that you're not missing them because you need them back in your life. You're missing them because you loved with your whole heart, and that's actually beautiful. The same heart that misses them is the same heart that knew you deserved better. Trust that heart. But before I go, remember this: you're building a life where love doesn't have to hurt to feel real, and where consistency doesn't feel boring, and chaos doesn't feel like passion, like where you can be chosen without having to perform for it. And if you need help reconnect with yourself during this process, know that I have that Miss Me journal that's filled with prompts to help you rebuild self-trust and find peace after toxic love and just get back to you. You'll find it in the show notes. Please make sure to follow, subscribe, right? Because it helps me like it so more people can be able to see it and just even get more out there. Like, I want to be able to help people have these authentic relationships after these toxic relationships, because I want to find just healthy love, you know? And so understand that I see you, I feel you, and I'll talk to you next week. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I can't wait to see you there.